These days, because of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and all sorts of other social media platforms, many people are now in the digital economy. That is, they call themselves digital creators, or very commonly called social media influencers. That is, that they go on the social media platform and they do everything they can to attract followers. Usually it's beautiful women or handsome men or someone that is very specialized in a field such as cooking, modeling, beauty, any other sorts of areas. And so what they'll do is they'll attract followers, and upon getting a certain amount of followers, then companies will sponsor them or pay them to endorse their products. So they then become a social media influencer. And it's a very new area in what we call the digital economy, but it has many safeguards and problems and things that you need to be aware of. Most important now is the Federal Trade Commission has certain guidelines so that you don't mislead people when you're posting things. That is, people need to know that you're either being paid or somehow being compensated to actually make a post when you're endorsing a product. So that could be having certain hashtags, having other things in your copy or in your statement to make that clear. Likewise, if you say you use a product, you better actually be using it, or otherwise you're making a false statement. So the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, polices these sorts of things to make sure that that is the case. We deal and represent a lot of social media. We help with compliance with FTC laws, and in particular, we actually help make the deals as to how many posts will have to be on TikTok, or how many posts on Instagram, what will be the subject, how will compensation be made. So it's a very big and growing area. It's an area where the advertising industry is very involved, and it will only get bigger. These days now, if you have hundreds of thousands, more importantly, millions of followers in your social media, then there's a way to turn that into an economic revenue. If you have hundreds of thousands of followers or even millions of followers, there is a way to monetize that depending on your reputation, how strong your following is, and whether or not you make proper endorsements that comply with FTC rules, as well as good deals with sponsors. In social media, it's still the Wild West because the technology is typically ahead of the law and ahead of regulators. So as social media continues to grow and more people are addicted to their screens on their phones or wherever they watch on their pads, then that's going to be the new medium for advertising, as well as having followers who will generally be influenced by what the person says who they're following. So it's an area that the law is still trying to catch up with. There are many examples of cases where things have gone wrong. For example, mainly in the cryptocurrency space. We've had recently in the news cryptocurrency exchanges go bankrupt, yet those were endorsed by famous people. And so the question is, were those famous people being compensated? Were they involved? Did they know anything about the weakness of these exchanges and the fact that they could fall? What about that follower who says the only reason why I joined this cryptocurrency exchange was because so-and-so who I follow on Instagram or on TikTok told me to do so? So those are very important things. The FTC wants to protect against fraud and against taking advantage of people who are otherwise starstruck or who are relying on information from accounts that they are following. If you're an influencer today, you need to be very careful about how you post, especially if you're being compensated for posting. Obviously, if you are not being compensated, then you just want to make sure you're not defaming somebody or otherwise saying something that could get you in trouble with a lawsuit. But if you are taking sponsorship money, if you're taking any type of compensation, then you want to make sure that you are honest and transparent and making clear that it is an ad or that you're being compensated in some manner for the endorsement. You want to make sure what you're saying is true, and that requires some research. Typically, if you're being asked to endorse a product, then you'll want to use it. You'll want to look up the brand. You want to see if you want to put your name behind it. And then beyond that, just from a pure business standpoint, you need an attorney to help you negotiate the specifics, not only of compliance with federal and state rules regarding social media influencers, but also that you're getting a good deal, that you're being compensated correctly, and that you deliver those things that you're asked to deliver, and that you otherwise can grow your practice.